remain silent, the Mayavadis are fond of using the example of the water pot, maintaining that when a pot is not filled with water, it makes a sound, but that when it is filled, it makes no sound. Very good point, huh? But are we water pots? How can we be compared to them? A good analogy utilizes as many similarities between two objects as possible. A water pot is not an active living force, but we are. Ever silent meditation may be adequate for a water pot, but not for us. Indeed, when a devotee realizes how much he has to say about Krishna, 24 hours in a day are not sufficient. It is the fool who is celebrated as long as he does not speak. For when he breaks his silence, his lack of knowledge is exposed. Okay, before I read any more, there's only a little, I'll read this the rest of this paragraph. Chaitanya Charitamrita shows that there are many wonderful things to discover by glorifying the Supreme. So the Mayavadis, their ideas, everything is impersonal. There's no reason to talk, but yet they said that. They compare us to a water pot. And Prabhupada very intelligently says an analogy. Sometimes, many times, Prabhupada uses analogies. But the analogies, the more similarities there are, the greater the analogy is. There's no similarities to us in a water pot. You know, it's just ridiculous. So they're trying to use that as that's really when it's full, it doesn't make a sound. Okay, that's one thing. Then it is a fool who is celebrated as long as he does not speak. Prabhupada said, yes, especially a well-dressed fool. If you have a well-dressed fool, you don't know he's a fool. But as soon as he speaks, then you know he's a fool. And also, when you learn about Krishna, then you really have so much to say because everything is real. When you're speaking about Krishna, Krishna is right there. So you're associating with Krishna and you're giving Krishna to others. So that's when real speaking begins. So this is the Chaitanya Charitamrita shows that there are many wonderful things to discover by glorifying the Supreme. So in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, I offer my respects to my spiritual masters, with an S. He uses the plural here to indicate that the cyclic succession he offers obeisances not to his spiritual master alone, but to the whole parampara, the chain of the cyclic succession, beginning with Lord Krishna himself. Thus, the author addresses the Guru in the plural to show the highest respect for all his predecessor spiritual masters. Also, there's that you don't necessarily just have one spiritual master. You can have many spiritual masters. One diksha, but you can have many shiksha gurus. So after offering obeisances to the disciplic succession, the author pays obeisances to all other devotees. So first to the disciplic succession, then to all devotees, then to the Lord himself, to his incarnations, to the expansions of Godhead, and to the manifestations of Krishna's internal energy. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes called Krishna Chaitanya, is the embodiment of all of these. He is God, Guru, devotee, incarnation, internal energy, and expansion of God. As his associate Nityananda, he is the first expansion of God. As Advaita, he is an incarnation. As Gadadhar, he is the internal potency. And as Srivas, he is the marginal living entity in the role of a devotee. Thus, Krishna should not be thought of as being alone, but should be considered as eternally existing with all his manifestations as described by Ramanujacharya. In the Vashishta Dvaita philosophy, God's energies, expansions, and incarnations are considered to be oneness in diversity. In other words, God is not separate from all of these. Everything together is God. So everything is, and you always have Krishna picture with his devotee. Sometimes Krishna is with his flute, but his flute is a devotee. You don't have Krishna just alone with nothing. He's always with he's always with all of these things. But not necessarily will they all be manifested, but they all manifested when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So actually, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is not intended for the novice, for it is the postgraduate study of spiritual knowledge. Ideally, one begins with the Bhagavad Gita and advances through Srimad Bhagavatam to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Although all these great scriptures are one and the same absolute level, for the sake of comparative study, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered to be on the highest platform. Every verse in it is perfectly composed. In the second verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author offers his obeisances to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. He compares them to the sun and the moon because they dissipate the darkness of the material world. In this instance, the sun and the moon have risen together.
So these are verses, Prabhupada's giving the English for verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Right.
The first one is obeisances to the spiritual masters. The second one is to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Are you in the Western world?
Yeah.
In the Western world, where the glories of Lord Chaitanya are relatively unknown, one may inquire, who is Krishna Chaitanya? The author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, answers that question in the third verse of his book. Generally, in the Upanishads, the supreme absolute truth is described in an impersonal way, but the personal aspect of the absolute truth is mentioned in the Ishupanishad, where we find the following verse, Aranmayena patrena satyasyapi tammukam Tattvam Purushana Pavinu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. And Prabhupada said that this is evidence, evidence that God is a person. This verse supports that. Sri Ishupanishad 15. The impersonalists do not have the power to go beyond the effulgence of God and arrive at the personality of God, from whom this effulgence is emanating. The Ishupanishad is a hymn to that supreme personality of Godhead. It is not that the impersonal Brahman is denied, it is also described, but that Brahman is revealed to be the glaring effulgence of the body of Lord Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we learn that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. In other words, Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the basis of the impersonal Brahman, the Paramatma or Super Soul, who is present within the heart of every living entity and within every atom of the universe, is but the partial representation of Lord Chaitanya. We talked about this in our Ishupanishad class, where Brahman is a representative of the Lord's Sat, potency, and Paramatma is Sat and Chit, and Bhagavan is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarma Karanam. Therefore, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, being the basis of both Brahman and the all-pervading Paramatma as well, is the supreme personality of Godhead. As such, he is full in 6 opulences. Can someone name the 6 opulences?
Name one of them at least.
Fame and strength.
Yes.
There's 2.
Beauty.
Beauty.
All renunciation.
Renunciation.
4.
Fame.
Fame was already.
Will.
Strength.
I couldn't hear.
Okay, wealth.
Strength.
Write them down. Wealth, fame, strength.
Okay.
What was it?
Beauty.
Renunciation.
Beauty.
Beauty.
Fame.
Knowledge, that's the
Fame,
one. That's
knowledge.
yeah, you got it.
Very good. In short, we should know that he is Krishna, God, and that nothing is equal to or greater than him. You know the Sanskrit for that? Asamordva. Oh, you know? Is that what he was saying? No. Okay. Asamordva. That means that there is no one equal to or greater than him. There is nothing superior to be conceived. He is the supreme person. Srila Rupa Goswami, a confidential devotee, taught for more than 10 days continually by Lord Chaitanya, wrote, Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurtmishe Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is more munificent than any other avatar, even Krishna himself, because he is bestowing freely what no one else has ever given, pure love of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya's teachings begin from the point of surrender to Krishna. He does not pursue the paths of karma yoga or jnana yoga or hatha yoga, but begins at the end of material existence, at the point where one gives up all material attachment. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna begins his teachings by distinguishing the soul from matter. And in the 18th chapter, he concludes at the point where the soul surrenders to him in devotion. The Mayavadis would have, and I'm assuming everybody knows that verse, where everyone surrenders to Krishna, abandon everything, surrender unto me.
Yes.
Sarvadharman, right?
Yes.
Yes. Can you say it?
Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami masucha.
Yes. And in all varieties of religion, Prabhupada said, give up all your nonsense and just surrender unto me.
And they'll protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not
Do
fear.
not fear, do not worry, do not hesitate. He concludes at the point where the soul surrenders to him in devotion. The Mayavadis would have all talk cease there, but at that point, the real discussion only begins. As the Vedanta Sutra says at the very beginning, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now let us begin to inquire about the supreme absolute truth. Rupa Goswami thus praises Lord Chaitanya as the most munificent incarnation of all, for he gives the greatest gift by teaching the highest form of devotional service. In other words, he answers the most important inquiries that anyone can make. I think here he's referring to the 4th verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Krishna Das Kaviraj is quoting Rupa Goswami's verse about may the son of Sachi Mata Anarpita. Do you know that one?
No.
I don't know if anyone knows. Anarpita Chiram Chirat. Anyway, may the son of Srimati Sachidevi be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in this age of Kali and given, out of his causeless mercy, he has given what no incarnation has ever offered before.
And what's that?
That is love, in pure love of God, in the highest level, Madhurya Ras. I don't remember the exact wording. Do you want to read now?
I could.
Okay.
Yeah. Right here.
Yeah.
There are different stages of devotional service and God realization. Strictly speaking, anyone who accepts the existence of God is situated in devotional service. So sometimes we think only the Hare Krishnas are engaged in devotional service. Just believing in God is devotional service, strictly speaking.
It's the beginning, faith.
To acknowledge that God is great is something, but not much. Lord Chaitanya preaches as the Acharya, a great teacher, taught that we can enter into a relationship with God and actually become God's friend, parent, or lover. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna showed Arjuna his universal form because Arjuna was his very dear friend. Upon seeing Krishna as the Lord of the universe, however, Arjuna asked Krishna to forgive the familiarity of his friendship. Lord Chaitanya goes beyond that point. Through Lord Chaitanya, we can become friends with Krishna, and there will be no limit to this friendship. We can become friends of Krishna, not in awe or adoration, but in complete freedom. We can even relate to God as his father or mother. This is the philosophy not only of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but of Srimad Bhagavatam as well. There are no other scriptures in the world in which God is treated as the son of a devotee. So normally, like in Christianity, you pray, Our Father who art in heaven, give me my daily bread. We go to the father, we go to the mother for something we want, we may think we need. But to have Krishna as your son, you're supplying him with everything. Of course, ultimately everything is coming from Krishna, but you're taking full care of him, and you have to train him. You have to teach him. That's where you feel you have that relationship. So that's only from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can we have these wonderful, unique relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and even as his lover. So usually God is seen as the Almighty Father who supplies the demands of his sons. You pray to God for whatever you want. So the great devotees, however, sometimes treat God as a son in their execution of devotional service. The son demands and the father and mother supply. And in supplying, Krishna, the devotee, becomes like a father or mother. Let me read that again. The son demands and the father and mother supply. And in supplying Krishna, the devotee, in supplying Krishna, the devotee becomes like a father or mother. So the devotee supplying things to Krishna, becoming like the father or mother. Instead of taking from God, we give to God. It was in this relationship that Krishna's mother Yashoda told the Lord, "Here, eat this or you'll die. Eat nicely." In this way, Krishna, although the proprietor of everything, depends on the mercy of his devotee. This is a uniquely high level of friendship in which the devotee actually believes himself to be the father and mother of Krishna. So the devotee believes that, and Krishna completely gives up everything in the hands of the devotee and let the devotee take care of him. And sometimes he does naughty things because he feels like doing it, just like a child. And then he gets chastised because they have to chastise him, otherwise how is he going to learn? And this is the mentality. So that relationship is so much better than just awe and reverence. So on the Vaikuntha planets, the relationship is awe and reverence. But on Krishna Loka planet, we can have this relationship. And also Prabhupada said on Krishna Loka, there's one section where there's Lord Chaitanya and an eternal kirtan. And you can go to the kirtan for a while too, like, several million years or so. Then you can go back with some of Krishna's playing things, etc.
I read that you can simultaneously have a relationship in both.
Oh, Jiva read we can do both at the same time for those who have enough energy.
Both of what at the same time?
Have a relationship with Lord Chaitanya and one with in Krishna.
So you're both
Chaitanya.
on Krishna Loka planet, you're with Lord Chaitanya, and you're also simultaneously with Krishna.
Wow.
No, we don't have time to waste. So, however, Lord Chaitanya's greatest gift was his teaching that Krishna can be treated as one's lover. This is the highest. In this relationship, the Lord becomes as so much attached to his devotee that he expresses his inability to reciprocate. You have to be satisfied with your service. I can't give you any more. You're just done so much for me. There's no way I can repay you. So Krishna was so obliged to the gopis, the cowherd girls of Vrindavan, that he felt unable to return their love. I cannot repay your love, he told them. I have no more assets to give. Devotional service on this highest, most excellent platform of lover and beloved, which had never been given by any previous incarnation or acharya, was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj, quoting Srila Rupa Goswami, writes in the 4th verse of his book, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna with a yellow complexion, and he is Satchidananda, the son of Mother Sachi. He is the most charitable personality because he came to deliver Krishna prema, unalloyed love for Krishna to everyone. So he came to deliver this to everyone, and it's the greatest gift. And he said it's like he went to the marketplace and no one was interested, so he just gave it away freely, so he didn't have to take it back. So he's giving it to anyone who wants it. So I'm going to continue with what is this Rupa Goswami or Chaitanya?
If it's still in the
Yeah,
quotes.
it still is. I was commenting in between. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna with a yellow complexion, and he is Satchidananda, the son of Mother Sachi. He is the most charitable personality because he came to deliver Krishna prema, unalloyed love for Krishna to everyone. May you always keep him in your heart. It will be easy to understand Krishna through him. So that's the end of the quote. So he's come to give Krishna. He's given it freely to anyone who will take it, not charging anything. It says when Krishna came, Krishna said, surrender unto me and I'll protect you. Lord Chaitanya, you don't even have to surrender. He's given it freely. Just take it. What do we? You have often.
We have often heard the phrase, love of God. How far this love of Godhead can actually be developed can be learned from the Vaishnava philosophy. Theoretical knowledge of love of God can be found in many places and in many scriptures. But what that love of Godhead actually is and how it is developed can be found in the Vaishnava literatures. It is the unique and highest development of love of God that is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yeah, this love of God, I mean, it's certainly the highest. When in the Christians say, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And that's really good. And that's what we're trying to do. But they don't have any idea who God is. It's almost like love this person. Love this person who's a great person. They're very great and they help many people. Love them. How can you love them if you don't know anything about them? So the more you know about Krishna, then you can love them.
Yeah, they have the theory, but they don't know how to apply it in their life. And also, love thy neighbor as thyself. The animal is also your neighbor. You should love everybody.
Well, lions and tigers, they're not our neighbors.
For the African neighbors.
For the Africans, but not for us. Our neighbors are the squirrels and the birds.
Okay. Even in this material world, we can have a little sense of love. How is this possible? It is due to the presence of our original love of God. Whatever we find within our experience within this conditioned life is situated in the Supreme Lord, who is the ultimate source of everything. And we can't have something that God does not have. Everything originates from Krishna. In our original relationship with the Supreme Lord, there is real love. And that love is reflected pervertedly through material conditions. Our real love is continuous and unending. It's funny, it says continuous and unending. I think continuous means unending, but it reiterates it. It's keeps going on. But because that love is reflected pervertedly in this material world, it lacks continuity and is inebriating. If we want real transcendental love, we have to transfer our love to the supreme lovable object, Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. In the material consciousness, we are trying to love that which is not at all lovable. We give our love to cats and dogs. Sorry, did I write in? We give our love to cats and dogs, running the risk that at the time of death, we may think of them and consequently take birth in a family of cats and dogs. Our consciousness at the time of death determines our next life. That is one reason why the Vedic scriptures stress. Oops, I think I skipped the page.
I
No.
don't think so.
That is the reason why the Vedic scriptures stress the chastity of women. If a woman is very much attached to her husband at the time of death, she will think of him. And in the next life, she will be promoted to a man's body. Generally, a man's life is better than a woman's because a man usually has better facilities for understanding the spiritual science. In Vedic times, the brahmachari, he would remain celibate and be able to pass his semen to his brain, and his brain would be thus nourished, and become like a super brain and be able to comprehend Vedic, wisdom much easier than the woman. She doesn't have that facility. So materially, the man's body is perhaps more suitable, but it's a spiritual science, and Prabhupada said there's no difference.
Especially in Kali Yuga.
Especially.
Yeah, Prabhupada also said that it's the women who come to church, mostly on Sundays. And even he talked about the widows in Vrindavan, So it's the women who really run the religious part of the family.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gita Mala.
No, just saying.
What about the cats and dogs? People may have pets as cats and dogs, and it is dangerous if one becomes too attached. So it's important that we learn to see that these cats and dogs are also spirit souls, but at this time they're encaged within this type of body, and try to help them by giving them prasadam and let them hear the chanting. And so if we see them in this way, it'll be easier at the time of our death not to be so attached to them, because we see them also as spirit souls.
And also the time of their death.
In the time of their death.
We did what we could for them, and that's it.
Right. And they'll be promoted. If they get prasadam, they'll be promoted to a human form. What time is it?
20 minutes more.
Anybody have any questions so far?
The end of the paragraph.
Didn't I? What did I do?
Well, I don't know.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
No questions so far?
No questions, comments?
This introduction is quite long, so we're trying to read a bit. But Krishna consciousness is so nice that it makes no distinction between man and woman. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:32, Lord Krishna says, anyone who takes shelter of me, whether a woman, a Sudra, Vaishya, that's everybody in Kali Yuga, or someone of low birth, is sure to achieve my association. This is Krishna's guarantee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informs us that in every country and in every scripture, there is some hint of love of Godhead, but no one knows what love of Godhead actually is, because they don't know who God is. It's very vague, nothing concrete, except for the Vaishnava literatures. We learn who God is, where he lives, what he looks like, what he wants. There's so much more to help us to reawaken and develop our love of God. The Vedic scriptures, however, are different in the way that they can direct the individual in the proper way to love God. Other scriptures do not give information on how one can love God, nor do they actually define or describe what or who the Godhead actually is. Although they officially promote love of Godhead, they have no idea how to execute it. Oftentimes they'll promote it by fear You know, if you don't follow this, you're going to go to hell. But it's nothing positive. You know, why should I follow it? Because you're going to go to hell. That's not enough. You know?
Well, then you can go to heaven and enjoy sense gratification. That's kind of their idea. I definitely remember as a Catholic, it's my idea of heaven was a wonderful place where you have a beautiful place. Everything is so nice and you live there eternally. But I never, ever, ever thought of having a relationship with God there in heaven. Like that, it was like I did my good thing. I believed in God, and now I go and I enjoy eternally. But there was nothing in my mind of doing anything with God. You know, God was way beyond heaven. He was just, you know, this is where I'm going to be. He's somewhere else. I don't know. This is just my conception of it as a Christian. Never thought about being with God after I went to heaven.
I've never heard, you know, any description of God,
They don't know much
information
about
of
God.
God. I don't know even the Quran.
No, I was going to say, even as a Catholic, as you know, former Catholic, you never really heard a description at all. You even asked a priest, wouldn't tell you anything. Okay, you know, coming here goes, you know, you understand it all.
We had this one, we're just watching a video, this one girl, two girls from, I think from America, they went to France, they wanted to see some places. Anyway, they wound up at the Hare Krishna temple. Before they went, she had a question. She was a Christian, a Catholic, and she was very sincere. And she asked the priest, what about, you know, cats and dogs? You know, what happens to them? And well, cats and dogs don't have any souls. And she said she really didn't like hearing that, but she accepted it. Then when she was in France, she stayed at the temple for a few days and then she was leaving. But before she left, Prabhupada was also in France at this time. And she, you know, heard from Prabhupada. But one of the devotees showed, listen to the conversation between Prabhupada and the cardinal. And the Prabhupada was talking about the animals. And the cardinal said the same thing that the priest said, they have no souls. And Prabhupada gave all these arguments about how the animals have a soul. And after she heard this, she decided she's staying at the temple. And she stayed, and she's still a devotee now. But, anyway, some things just don't really make any sense. And people who don't think so much just accept them. You know, how animals have no soul. What is the difference between a human and an animal? Anyway, we know that they have souls, but so they're just mentioning this. After she heard Prabhupada arguing with the cardinal in France, she decided to surrender to Prabhupada.
But it is to these people's credit that even without so much information, they still have some faith.
Yeah.
So, and that's good. You know, that's pious. It's really good.
Yeah, we're not trying to knock anybody's faith down if they have faith in a different particular path, as long as they're sincere.
They've begun, and they'll be promoted and be able to make further progress on the path. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a practical demonstration of how to love God in a conjugal relationship. Taking the part of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tried to love Krishna as Radharani loved him. Krishna was always amazed by Radharani's love. How does Radharani give me such pleasure? He would ask. In order to study Radharani, Krishna lived in her role and tried to understand himself. This is the secret of Lord Chaitanya's incarnation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but he has taken the mood and role of Radharani to show us how to love Krishna. Thus, the author writes in the 5th verse, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, who is absorbed in Radharani's thoughts. So this is the unique position of Lord Chaitanya. You know, Krishna himself, God himself comes to show us and also to understand the highest level of love, that one can love him, and that's Radharani. So in Radharani's mood and hue, he comes as Lord Chaitanya, and he offers to all of us, as low as Kali Yugans, as I said before, the highest limit of love that one can achieve, is the love of the damsels of Raja, Gopi Bhava. It's unfathomable. No one has ever done this before. No incarnation, no avatar. The highest that has been offered before is like neutral servitorship. Have you?
I don't know.
I think that's the limit. But Lord Chaitanya, friend, parent, lover. It's so intimate, to be in such a relationship with the Supreme Person, in such an intimate, loving relation, is beyond, my poor fund of knowledge.
I mean, as a friend, you'd be equal, and like
Sometimes
as a
greater.
friend, Krishna doesn't want to stay and play with you, then you're not going to let him play anymore with you. And so you treat him as you treat any other friends. As a parent, you're superior to him, and as a lover, he becomes controlled by your love. I guess he becomes controlled by your love in any relationship, but especially Srimati Radharani. But anyway.
I don't know if we should continue or ask questions.
Oh, what time is it? Yeah, where are you up to?
Right here.
Yeah, let's get to the next paragraph on this page.
This brings up the question of who Srimati Radharani is and what Radha Krishna is. Actually, Radha Krishna is the exchange of love, but not ordinary love. Krishna has immense potencies, of which 3 are principal: the internal, external, and the marginal potencies. In the internal potency, there are 3 divisions: Samvit, Hladini, and Sandini. The Hladini potency is Krishna's pleasure potency. All living entities have this pleasure-seeking potency. Anandamaya Vyasat. For all beings are trying to have pleasure. This is the very nature of the living entity. At present, we are trying to enjoy our pleasure potency by means of the body in the material condition. By bodily contact, we are attempting to derive pleasure from material sense objects, but we should not entertain the nonsensical idea that Krishna, who is always spiritual, also tries to seek pleasure on this material plane. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes the material universe as a non-permanent place full of miseries. Dukalayam Shashvatam. Why then would he seek pleasure in matter? He is the super soul, the supreme spirit, and his pleasure is beyond the material conception. Whatever one can experience in the material world, the highest pleasure that one could imagine material, cannot compare to even a drop of spiritual pleasure. No comparison. So some think that is it Mayavadis? Think that Krishna comes and he's covered by Maya and wants to experience the material pleasure. But it can't be. He's completely spiritual. His body is spiritual, Satchidananda Vigraha. So he has no interest in material pleasure. In fact, his interest is in experiencing spiritual pleasure with every living entity. He wants us to come back and experience the real.
I mean, in order to experience material pleasure, you have to have a material body. He doesn't have a material body. So,
but they think.
I don't think he's going to incarnate in a material body just to experience material pleasure and pain.
That's what some so-called incarnations, they say that's their lila.
Yep, finished up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have any questions? We're going to have questions.
So when he's experiencing pain, it's Leela, you're saying?
Yeah, there's no material pain for him.
It's all pleasure, but it may seem
That's
like
all.
Even when Bhishma Dev was, shooting arrows at Krishna, He
Mhm.
received it like flowers. It was received like flower petals, flower garlands.
Yeah.
There was no pain.
And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is feeling intense separation and crying, it's also pleasure.
It's ecstasy.
Yeah, it's the highest
ecstasy.
pleasure.
When his joints become dislocated and his skin
Yeah.
slacked.
We don't have to, we're not gonna get to that point with us. We're not gonna get there. Don't have to worry. I'm not gonna
I'm
take,
not worried.
I'm not gonna take the Krishna consciousness because I really don't want my joints to come apart. It's just the highest level.
Okay, we have a few questions on what we read today.
It's today? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered what level of study of spiritual knowledge?
You can raise your hand.
You know, okay. Gita,
Oh, someone's speaking.
somebody was speaking.
I raised my hand.
PhD.
Devin Manishi, raise their hand. Oh,
D.
Who's talking?
it's not clear.
Janvarani.
Dhanavarani, but it's not
We don't know
clear.
what you're saying at all.
Breaking up.
It's a doctorate, PhD.
No, you were not supposed to answer.
You're supposed to raise your hand and we can look at you and you can raise your hand. That's the easiest. So you can put up that little hand that's harder to see. It's nice that we have at least one person who's brave enough to show us what they look like.
Two.
Oh, two. But the other one's so far back, we can't really see him.
We see his Brahmani effulgence there, though.
He's got a bright, very bright effulgence. Oh,
Yeah,
there he
there
is.
it is.
Okay, so Gita Mala, what's the answer?
Postgraduate, just,
Yes.
just as John Avrani said.
I didn't know if she said it.
She did.
She did.
Right.
Yeah.
In what order should we study? In what order should we study the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam? Place them in the right order. Kavish.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji. So first is Bhagavad Gita, second is Srimad Bhagavatam, and third is Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Very good.
Correct.
Perfect. What are Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda compared to and why? You got to put your hands down. You can't keep them up. It was up. It was already up.
She wants to answer.
I know, but okay.
Or them. Okay.
Okay. We're going to do Shuddha Bhakti, even though we can't see her.
Hare Krishna. So Lord Nityananda is considered Lord Balram and Krishna as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay. No, that's not who they're compared to. That's
We
who
didn't
they
read
are.
that
That's who
today.
they are.
What was the question? I mean, like,
Sorry, you lose.
I said we didn't read
Next.
that today.
Well,
It's
but
something we read today.
Padma Lochini.
Is it Pyari Prabhuji, the millions of sun? Like they both are compared to?
No, not millions of suns. Sorry, but good try. Anyone else?
Gita Mala, your hand's still up?
Okay, Gita Mala, who?
I'm also thinking, is it moon and sun?
Yes, so
And
sun,
why?
it's the sun and the moon, and why?
Why? Wow, I don't know why.
Not. No.
They're beautiful. They're both beautiful.
What do they do?
They shine.
They do. And what happens when they shine?
Okay, Omeo, let him,
Brilliantly shine.
Omeo's gonna try.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Because they dissipates the material sufferings of the living entity.
Yeah, they dissipate the darkness of the material world. And in this instance, both the sun and the moon have risen simultaneously. Okay, generally, how does the Upanishad describe the supreme absolute truth? Let me see some hands here. No looking in the book.
Generally, the Upanishads describe
The supreme absolute
as
truth. Okay, Nanda Gopal's brave enough to take a chance.
The effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti.
No, that's not what it's described. I would have to say no. But Jiva would say yes, because she's the most kind and teacher in grading tests.
But you can
She's
ask,
she's Radharani while you are Krishna.
try to take it a little farther. What is that aspect you're thinking, describing?
Oh, anybody want to? Generally, how does the Upanishads describe the supreme absolute truth?
Is Hiranmayana Patrena Satyas? Is it?
I want English though.
No, that's how.
I know what she's saying. but
Effulgence, yes.
He already
That's what he
said
said.
that.
Oh.
It's correct, but it's not exactly correct. I'm
He
more
wants
strict.
the exact word.
Not the exact words. He's described in an impersonal way. The Brahman effulgence is impersonal, but that's not the way you're describing them.
But that's how you describe the impersonal aspect of the supreme. So it is.
Yeah, anyway, it's simultaneously one and different. Inconceivably.
I accept I'm wrong.
No, I'm not, you're kind of right, but that's not what I wouldn't give you credit for it. It's in an impersonal way.
Half a mark.
Okay, next question. Which of the Upanishads describe the supreme absolute truth in a personal way? Padmalochini.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it should be Gita Upanishad, right?
No.
No? Okay.
What did she said?
The Gita
Yeah,
Upanishad.
no.
That's not what we read.
Okay.
Ishopanishad.
Omyo.
Yes, Prabhu, Ishopanishad.
Yes, Ishopanishad. Gita Mali, you lose a point because you said it out loud.
There are other verses from other Upanishads that, are
But
personal.
the main one that's
But, yeah.
personal
But
is
what
the
we read
Ishopanishad.
today-
That's what we
We're
read.
looking for what we've read today.
We're accepting what we read today.
And now you should ask Yuga Dharma this one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, Yuga Dharma, which verse in the Ishopanishad is a good example of describing God in a personal way?
Hiranmayana Patrena Satyasta Pihitamukam.
Can you say more?
That's all I remember.
Anyone else can say more?
Come on, you Bhakti Shastris. Who's doing a Bhakti Shastri recently? Padmalochini, you know this, don't you?
No, Mataji, I don't know that verse.
Okay, Hiranmayana Patrena Satyasyapi Tamukam Tattvam Pushana Pavrinu Satya Dharmaya Dristaye. Anyone know the English? Oh my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. And what verse is that in the Ishopanishads? What mantra? Number 7? Is it 7? Maybe, but
Is
I'm
it
not saying.
15?
Who said 15?
Me.
Oh, okay, well, me got it right.
There's no hands.
That's correct.
I need mine.
The impersonalists, I don't know if we went this far.
Yeah, we did.
We did?
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Okay, the impersonalists do not have the power to go beyond what? She said we did it. I don't know if we got up to this, but
I remember reading
she may have.
this one too. I read it.
Maybe.
Oh, there's 2 hands.
Okay, well, pick one.
Padmalochini,
Brahmajyoti?
which is, what is the
Brahman
Brahman?
effulgence of the Lord.
Yes.
Yes. Folds
Remind
the seminary for the Lord. And this is not the, it's the last question in some of what we read, but we're going to go over a couple of other questions. Oh, it's already
I
after
wrote these
time.
questions too.
Oh man, we got a lot of questions. Okay, what are the 6 opulences which Lord Chaitanya is full of? We already did this.
I know.
It's the same, the beauty, right?
Yeah, yeah. So do you know it? Do you know 6 of them?
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
I know all 6.
Okay, let's go with Gita Mala. Try it.
Beauty, wealth, knowledge, renunciation, strength,
Yep.
and fame.
Very good. Hari Bol. Got all of them.
I don't know how I did it, but
I don't know how you did it either. Wait, watching, looking at it.
Haribol.
no, I'm not looking at a book.
What do you think of these questions?
I don't have time to look at it. I want to look at, I want to ask you one question. What's the one question from the beginning?
Oh, the symptoms of surrender.
Yeah.
The 6
What are the
symptoms
6
of
symptoms
surrender.
of surrender? Anybody know that without looking at anything?
My God, you're
What
making
are the
us
6 signs or
remember that
symptoms of surrender? We've gone to this for every single
so
week
many times. Yeah.
and nobody remembers them. That's
No, we remember them.
well, what are they?
So accepting everything that's favorable to Krishna consciousness, rejecting everything that's not favorable to Krishna consciousness, considering Krishna as the sole proprietor, considering Krishna as my maintainer. I'm not sure if that's quite right, but
Now you're saying things that aren't there. But that's
humble
okay. You got 2 of them.
humility, humble, meek and humble.
Yeah. Always feel oneself meek
Always
and
feel
humble.
oneself meek and humble.
Accept things favorable for discharging devotional service, reject things
Right.
unfavorable. Those
And
3 you got.
and considering everything, doing what is in the interest of only what is in Krishna's interest.
Yeah, have no interest separate.
Have no interest separate from Krishna. Yeah. And one more.
2 more, 2 more.
2 more.
Yeah, you said one that wasn't even there.
Oh, maintainer. Dependence.
Krishna's-
Complete dependence on Krishna. That's there, right?
Yeah, feel exclusively dependent on
Yeah.
what?
On Krishna's mercy.
Yeah, mercy, yeah.
Yeah.
Deb's hands.
So 5. One more,
Okay,
right?
let's give somebody else. Deb, you know?
Accepting Krishna as one's protector.
Yes, believe firmly in the Lord's protection. That's it. You mentioned something else that's not there, Kitamala. But you did
Maintainer.
good.
I said maintainer. Okay, so
Right.
protector.
You got 5 out of 6. Very good.
You want to ask any of these?
I don't know what they are. I can't look at them. I can't read it. Okay, anything else? It's already after 8. So
We gotta go to the other class.
Krishna Prabhuji, just one quick announcement, just a reminder that we will have our Saturday night Kirtan right after this. We just wanted to remind everyone before we end the class.
Your time right after this? I didn't know there was
Saturday night.
Is this new?
how new is this Saturday night kirtan?
We'll have it till 8:30.
What?
We'll have it until 8:30.
This is the week. This
When
is
did it start? 3 weeks ago?
yeah, on the birthday. On
Yeah,
the
it's
birthday.
on March 20th.
Oh,
Like we
my
started.
birthday.
Yes, Prabhuji. On your appearance
Started
day.
on your appearance day, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. Then it's authorized. Okay, Hare Krishna, glory to Prabhupada. So we can start the kirtan for those who would like to join in. I guess how does it work? Just like Madhava Gopal, you're going to be singing and responding, and we're muted. So, but we respond just in our own home, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
That's much better.
Yes, I know. Otherwise, it gets all messed up.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, glory to Prabhupada.
Just one small announcement before we start the Kirtan. We will dedicate this today's Kirtan to Ganpati Govind Prabhu's our dear friend. His parents are contracted with the COVID. both Ganpati Prabhu's parents and also his brother and sister-in-law. So, so we'll pray from our heart, especially mom. Mom is going through a lot of trouble. So we'll pray from the heart. We'll take this 30 minutes, sincerely request Lord to show their mercy, and that's it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashyatyadeshacharini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna
Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Devi ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Srila Prabhupada ki Sankirtan Yagya ki Oh Prem Nandi
Hari Ganapati Govindas Prabhu parents ki
Jai.
Mata Gopal Prabhuji, Malkipriya Mataji, Govind Gopal ki Jai. Digo, thank you so much, Prabhuji, Mataji, Govind Gopal. We pray that everyone keeps Ganpati Govind Prabhuji's family in their prayers. Hare Krishna.